Let me start my watch to get our cardio going. If you're getting your cardio going, get on the bike too with me. How are you guys? So today we're going to discuss some things about. We're going to discuss. Ooh, I'm way ahead on this thing. We got to restart that. Yeah. We're going to. Sorry, I'm getting started with the workout. We are going to discuss signs or aspects of spiritual awakening. I really didn't know what to talk with you guys about today. I just wanted to kind of shoot the shit with you, have some fun, cuss a little bit. I feel like my body's a little tired lately, maybe a little sick, and so signs and symptoms of spiritual awakening. I wanted to share some of the things that I first started going through. So my spiritual, if you guys have been around, my spiritual awakening. Oh, and by the way, like, comment, do your things so that we can kind of vibe off each other, and it helps inspire new ideas, new thoughts, and so it's more fun that way. But anyways, sorry, I'm just looking at stuff I can't see. My spiritual awakening probably was initiated when I was about 14, when I had my near-death experience. That you guys, if you haven't seen already, go check that out. There's a video in the, maybe not the description, but there's many videos I've got on my near-death experience talking about it. During my treatment with leukemia, I really would say my spiritual awakening came about when I was 19. So I had a burp. When I was 19, I had just gotten out of my bone marrow transplant 2.5 years prior. I was asking a lot of questions, and a lot of those questions gave me the answers that I now get to talk to you guys about today and with these other videos. So things for me that inspired my spiritual awakening, well, helped me understand that I was in fact having a spiritual awakening, was I just couldn't get answers. I couldn't accept the answers that the other people were giving me. Meaning, I was asking these deeper questions as to the nature of suffering, why I had just experienced 5 years of really, really severe trauma, both physically, mentally, and spiritually, why I had to watch my family members suffer so deeply watching me, and even more so, why I had to watch these really young children and their family members, some of them die. Oh, my knee's hurting a little bit on this bike. Anyways, I gotta get my heart rate up so it doesn't matter. And you gotta get your heart rate up, so wonderful. But for me, it was, I felt like I wasn't, nothing was touching my heart that was giving me the answer as to why I just experienced all that I did. Religious people would have said, well, you're just being tested, right? It's a test. But I was like, well, what is the test? Is it just to enter into the kingdom of heaven? It was, you threw me out, and then you said, well, you've got to be tested to come back in. You have to be worthy, right? This feeling, I already have enough feelings of unworthiness. Now, why do I have to be tested to be brought back into the kingdom of heaven? So that answer didn't give me any rationale. And then I started seeking. So I started finding answers, looking for answers in other areas, which led me to a lot of Eastern religion. You can call it the New Age. I like to call it just a spiritual community where it's beyond what we see as religion. It's kind of using all that religion has given us, and then created this own little separate. Hey Otto, what's up, my friend? Throw in some questions. Nice to see you. Thanks for being on. If you have questions about your own spiritual awakening, signs and stuff, I'd love to hear them. So I kind of lost my train of thought. So that was one of my initiating signs. I appreciate you, Otto. Thank you for watching, my friend. Throw your stuff down. Throw your questions if you got some, Otto. If you've been thinking stuff that, you've been going through your own spiritual awakening and you're having some signs and stuff that you're wondering if these are signs, let me know, my friend. But so for me, it was being unable to have the answers fulfill the questions of my heart when it came to suffering. So then I started learning about Buddhism and Taoism and Hinduism. And I started to realize that amongst all of the primary teachers, there were these repetitive patterns. And so that was a sign going, okay. So it started touching my heart. Okay, that makes more sense. It would make more sense that I had to experience the suffering that I did if it meant that I was somehow expanding on a soul level. Okay, that touches me. It still doesn't seem fair. Right? My mind just didn't want to think that. It didn't seem fair to me. But then I started going deeper and deeper, and those signs came forward, and like, okay, so I'm starting to get the answers that I'm asking for. I also started being introduced to new people, new teachers, right? Those are signs. I started seeing repetitive numbers. That was a huge one, especially when I entered into my very first actual relationship. I was 22 years old. I started seeing a lot of numbers. And then we would discuss this, and she was a pretty spiritual person, and she said, oh, these are angel numbers. This is spirit trying to communicate with you. And I said, what? So I'm like, okay, all these things start aligning. I started to feel very different, and I had already felt different, right? So a lot of us in the spiritual community, we begin to feel different. All of us, I think as a whole, we feel different, and we feel weird, and we feel awkward. And I think that's fun, because that's what makes us, our little quirks and our individual traits and characteristics. That's what makes us who we are. That's what makes it so much fun to engage with each other day in and day out. And it's why we fall in love typically, right? We fall in love with the quirks of the person. We don't fall in love with just the outward beauty or how smart they are. Like, yes, those are all characteristics, but we fall in love with all of those things and those little idiosyncrasies that make that person the individual. And so I started getting all these little inspirations here and inspirations there. And then I started to feel different, like we just talked about. I started to feel like, I feel like when people would give me their answers to stuff, I could start feeling that they were telling me about their own story. They were telling me about their own fears. They started projecting outwardly, and I'm not in psychology or anything like that. But I could feel emotionally when they would say something to me. I thought, oh, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't really it doesn't connect with my heart. It connects maybe a little bit with my mind, with my ego, but it doesn't connect with the heart. It doesn't make me feel connected to anything deeper. And so as I started wanting to go from feeling separate, feeling weird, to feeling connection, I started meditating, and I began feeling a deeper connection to what I like to call like a little voice. You can call it my inner being, you can call it spirit, you can call it God. But it is that aspect of each one of us that is an extension of the infinite, that is an extension of consciousness itself, that is consciousness, our spirit guide. So I started to feel these repetitive messages. It was like I was hearing something, but it wasn't my own voice, right? It's a secondary voice. Not like a schizophrenic voice where it's constantly on telling me to do all these things. But when I would ask questions, I would get answers. And so, for us, it's that the spiritual awakening is oftentimes it's an undoing of the old. It's a breaking down of the old, of who we were prior to this situation. All of the conditioning that we've developed within ourselves that has brought us to this point. You might be off topic, Otto. I don't think so. I didn't see your last question. Throw that last question there one more time, and I'll see if you're off topic. We can answer it together. Sorry, my friend. Yeah. Sorry, I missed the quote down there, your chat down there. But the spiritual awakening is it's an emptying of our cup. It's our emptying of our conditioning responses. It's the emptying of who no longer serves us. And what I mean by that is it's different personality traits. its behaviors, its ways of thinking, all of those things in a spiritual awakening begin to feel like false remnants of who we were. It's something is calling us forward into expansion, into becoming something more than we really understand ourselves to be. But yet, it's this inability to kind of hold to the past. So spiritual awakening right now may feel like, for me, it feels like I'm feeling a little chaotic, right? And there's many times that we go through more spiritual awakening. So it's not just one, it's like peeling back onion layers, more and more and more onion layers. So for me right now, part of my current spiritual journey, spiritual awakening, I'm awakening into understanding the importance of surrender, the importance of truly having faith. That's been a problem of mine since the very beginning of this journey. But this next layer for me is one of surrender. So it's one of letting go, having faith that what I've asked for, what I am doing, the work that I am doing, the meditations, the visualizations, it's having faith that I don't need to control how the circumstance ends up showing up. I have to surrender to the path, knowing that the path is taking me to the end journey, to the end destination. So for me, that's the current aspect of my spiritual awakening. And these things will continue to arise and fall throughout our lives. So even once we feel like we've attained this state of supreme enlightenment, supreme awareness, things in life happen as a result of elevating our souls. And so it helps elevate the soul quicker if in the midst of the experience, when we're having these spiritual awakenings, right, these insights, these inspirations, when we take our time to be silent, quieting our mind through meditation or some other practice, going inward, feeling ourselves actually intentionally taking our perception from going here or out there, and you feel yourself go inward. So you actually take your awareness into your heart, right? Imagining just being in your heart, feeling the heart sensations, and then taking the insight, the thought that arises once we're there. So I've done a few videos of the processes like this that you can do and how to heal your body and stuff. And so you can check those out if you want. But these spiritual awakening is not just like it is a spark. It is a lighting the match. But once the match is lit, kind of have to destroy the old remnants, right? The dead pine needles that are around. And then the fire will dull, and then it will stoke back up, and then it will dull, and then it will increase back up, and it'll keep lighting these different, what's the word I want to use, these different aspects of life, these different lessons, each part of your curriculum of your soul, one by one, as we continue to move through our journey. Spiritual awakening, I think, I can't think of the person right now, but the author, I think they're a monk, say, like, enlightenment has nothing to do with being more joyful and happy. It's the undoing of the old. It's the eradication of what was. And so if you feel like right now your life is really kind of chaotic and falling apart, but yet you're doing earnestly the work, you are investing in the meditation. You are working on your own psyche. You're observing your mind. You're observing your behavior. You're changing your behavior so that you feel that you're working more in alignment with your heart. Then, voila, you're on the right path. And if shit happens and it goes awry and it doesn't feel good, go through it. There's a fun quote. Oh, my left knee is hurting. Interesting. Left knee is the past. Before I jump into that quote, it's the past It's not moving in the right path. Ooh, it just stopped. Is that? No, it came back. So the past holding us back from moving forward into our journey in the future, in the present. So something in the past is holding us back. So that's the left knee oftentimes represented. It's kind of, that's not fun. Let me stand up for a second. We're going to stop getting our cardio. We're going to start, but let me give you this quote while I'm resting and readjusting. It's from the Masters, Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. And it goes like this. When you come to the Red Sea place in your life, when in spite of all you can do, there is no way back, there is no way round, there is no other way but through, know God with a soul serene, and the dark and the storms are gone. God stills the winds, God stills the waves. God says to your soul, go on, go on, go on, go on. So if you just exchange God with source or spirit, you get the gist. The spiritual awakening is in those moments of deep suffering, in those moments of the Red Sea, right? The Red Sea. I cannot cross this sea of this ocean that is before me. It's too vast. It's too large. It's too powerful. Then know source, know your inner being with a soul serene, and the dark and the storms are gone. Your inner being stills the winds. It stills the waves. It says to your soul, go on, go on, go on, go on. So that is the process when we're having these spiritual awakenings. Kind of, the signs are so vast. I shouldn't have even titled this video that, because the signs of spiritual awakening, there are so many to count. It can be a dissociation with your family members or friends. It can be this desire to leave your job. It can be a desire to leave your partnership, your relationship. It can be so many things. It can be desire to, quit everything and go hike the Himalayas. There are so many different signs. It could be health problems begin to arise. That's a common one because you're beginning to allow energy to flow into your body in greater quantities. And as a result, the cells, the atoms have to change. And so there can be these aches and pains and discomforts that are just identifying to us where there is resistance. So where we're holding energetic resistance. Like me right now, I'm on this bike. Why is my left knee hurting? It never hurts. Could it be that it's definitely getting cold, right? We can explain it physiologically. It's getting cold. Maybe my joints are a little more stiff. I've been riding the bike much more frequently, right? Because I got to keep my heart rate elevated and let it heal from the stent placement. And it can also be that why is that suddenly happening in my knee? Why is it not happening in my shoulder? Why is it not happening in other areas? And so for me, I like to look inward and assess, okay, if I'm having aches and pains somewhere, what is this trying to teach me? What is this showing me? What is this identifying that I'm holding resistance about? And so is it showing me right now that I'm holding resistance about my past, and my past is preventing me from moving forward, that I'm not taking the necessary steps forward because the past is holding me back, right? Is because I'm allowing the trauma, if you will, the memories, the history of the past to kind of weigh me down and create pains. Okay, so that's maybe it for me. I don't know, but that could be it, definitely with what I've experienced in my health. So I feel like my body is weighing me down. It's not allowing me to move forward into the beautiful journey that I want to in this reality, in this current life experience. I have to self-reflect. So if we self-reflect, if I'm self-reflecting right now, later I'll go meditate on it. Hopefully I don't fall asleep because I've been falling asleep lately when I try to meditate. But I try not to fall asleep and I stay present. And I suddenly get an insight, a feeling, a thought that says, you are letting your past history with your health hinder you from moving forward into this new journey, into this new chapter of your life. So you have to let go of what was to move forward into what will be. So I go, okay, maybe that's my answer right now. I don't even have to meditate on it. That's the resistance that I'm holding. I'm holding resistance. And so this is kind of morphing into a more physical signs of your spiritual awakening. But you will start to get weird aches and pains, weird discomforts. You may feel as if the world doesn't seem normal, like you're in a simulation, right? Somebody dies around you. I had a friend whose sister died very tragically. And he started saying, I feel like I'm living, like I can't tell the difference between this reality and the virtual reality when I play video games. I'm starting, I'm not able to perceive reality clearly. And then he went on to say, but I do think I'm having some type of spiritual awakening. And that spiritual awakening was a result of his deep questioning of life, of why things happen after his sister's tragic death. Why do things have to happen the way they do? That's a huge question that leads us to more answers. Oftentimes we just accept that we don't understand. And that is true. We don't have the whole picture. We're not on the top of the mountain and can see all of the paths up the mountain. We just hope that we're on the right path as we walk up the mountain, and eventually we'll get there. So we all will get there. That's the promise of being a spiritual being, having a human experience. And luckily enough for you, you are a spiritual being having a human experience, so you will come to that understanding. However, signs for me, let's go back. Let's zip it back. Signs for me, my hip went out. So my right as I started the spiritual journey, my right hip collapsed. And I just had a hip replacement 2 years ago as a result of that. So I wasn't able to fix it. What also happened? My eyes started to go blind. That was fun. My perception wasn't clear, particularly the way I was seeing the present moment with my right eye. I started to feel the separateness, like I mentioned earlier. I started to feel more isolated than I already felt. And what started to help with the symptoms of all of those things was when I began to meditate more frequently, and not just more frequently, but the duration was longer. So I'd meditate for 20 to 30 minutes, and I'd sometimes meditate 3 times a day. And that silence helped me hear the voices, the inspiration, the insight, the intuition that I was being given. It's all these things coming from within myself as a result of my connection to my soul, my inner being, were starting to come out, and I was able to hear them rather than just thinking they were random thoughts that I was thinking. I began to feel the subtle difference between a thought, my random ego thought, and inspiration, or the voice of an inner being, of my inner voice, separate from my own conscious thinking voice. So that helped a whole lot. What else? I started to find more joy after we had the negative stuff disappear. So the joy began to really become more palpable. I felt more grateful, probably because I was working on feeling more grateful and starting to recognize the gratitude. But I began to feel a lift of the heaviness of the energy off of my body. So once I recognized that I had these different resistances within my body, my hip, my vision, different areas, once that lifted and I worked through the process, particularly through meditation, accepting it as it was happening, accepting that the situation was what it was, and then allowing myself to move through that, I began to feel a lot more joy, a lot more hope, began to feel loved, supported. That was a long one. It's taken me a long time to feel supported again. But so once you kind of move through the muck and you get through the resistance, the jello of the energy that you've established throughout your life up to this point, you move above that jello. Now it becomes air. It feels light. It feels freeing. It feels fun. It feels more joyful. Lately, why I wanted to do this is because my current situation is a lot less joyful. I keep questioning and keep moving through the muck of why did I have so much plaque in my artery? I've done everything right. I've I've done everything right from a physiological standpoint. I exercise like this. At that time, I was doing it 4 to 5 days a week. I was getting all my cardiovascular time in. I was getting my strength training, eating the right diet, eating a really clean diet, opposite of what you would see in somebody with plaque buildup. I'm young, I meditate. I don't have a lot of stress. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but most of the time it's less than it is a lot of stress. So I started questioning, okay, well, what is this now? Why did this happen? And then going from why did this happen to, okay, this did happen. This is part of the journey. And from this did happen to, what can this help me understand? How can I learn from this? How is this part of my curriculum, my soul's curriculum? What can I take from this where I'm going to experience growth, more wisdom, more joy? And so right now, that's where I'm at. So I'm doing these videos mostly because I like to talk through my own stuff, and maybe it helps you with your stuff also, but that's kind of where I'm at. And I jump back and forth between those. Why did this happen? This did happen. What can I learn from this? Why did this happen? This did happen. What can I learn from this? So it's this journey, and then getting some insight of, it happened because it was, you were not allowing the energy, you're not allowing the love to flow through you. You weren't feeling a whole lot of joy. Yeah, that's right. I wasn't feeling a whole lot of joy. I was even talking to Shauna about that for a while. I don't feel a lot of joy. I don't feel like I'm allowing the joy to flow into my life. I'm not choosing things that make me feel joyful. I'm choosing things out of responsibility, out of necessity. All right, and so over time, that's going to build up. And some people, like myself, we don't have a big buffer of manifestational time. Right? You have to fix it quicker than others. Some people do the wrong things their whole life. Nothing will happen to them until they die. And that's okay, right? That's neither here nor there. It's not a comparison of what's right or wrong. It's just that some people, that is their choice. That was their journey. My journey is not that. It's to fix my energetic problems, resistances, and before they show up into a manifestation, and my body will give me cues that something's happening and that I need to fix it. And if I don't fix it, it becomes an actual physiological problem. And so you are probably like me, hence the reason you're watching this, and you have different ailments, discomforts that you're experiencing, whether that be mentally, depression, physically, aches and pains, physical problems, maybe spiritually, you feel like you can't connect to God, to your inner being, to Source. And so what we do in those times of problems or signs of our spiritual awakening, we meditate. We have to go inward. That is the most effective tool to allow our inner beings to communicate with us, to allow Spirit and Source to connect with us. I know for me, the more time I spend on my phone, the more problems start to arise for everything in my body. The more time I spend in quiet, in silence, where I can just feel, the better things get for me. And so my suggestion for right now is, if you're on this obviously you're on a spiritual awakening journey and you're looking for signs, meditate more. Be more silent. Go out in nature and hear the birds sing, and listen to the trees and feel the sun, or feel the cold. Right now it's getting colder, so feel the cold wind on your body. Allow your body to be here right now, nothing else. Because this, as we know from my last few videos with Ram Dass, when we look at the duality of life, right, the duality of being a physical being, a spiritual being in a physical realm, we have to accept this duality, right, that all things have their place. Everything is perfect. And if something is going wrong, the best thing we can say to ourselves is, yes, And this too. This is part of the experience. This is part of the journey. Whether you want to accept that or not, you have to accept it. Right? The idea of water hitting a rock, it doesn't just keep forcing itself through the rock. It says, yes, and this too. I will go around it. Right? If I can't go around it, I will go above it. Right? It will always continue moving. It will always find a way. And so for us, going on this spiritual journey, having these difficulties or having these great highs, allowing it to be as it is, and going, yes, and this too, this is part of my spiritual awakening. Yes, I'm manifesting at a high rate because it's that like initial point where we get to something and we manifest quickly because we're so gung-ho and we believe it and we have faith. And then stuff happens and we start to confuse ourselves with more information and more noise and more chaos, and we try to really get good at manifesting. When in reality, what we were doing in the beginning worked the best because it was so simple. You meditated, you visualized for 15 minutes, and you had belief, you had faith, you surrendered, knowing that Source, your inner being, God, whatever it is you want to call it, is moving into your experience freely and easily so that you can have a beautiful life, so that we can all have beautiful lives. And the reason that something is showing up is not always because we've agreed to it on a soul level. We like to talk about that. There are things in our world that we agree to on our soul level. From my understanding, they're much more infrequent as we think they are. Oftentimes, those are just really serious points in our life, people we're going to meet up with, illnesses, healings, certain things. The majority of our life it's up to us. 99% of our life is up to us. It's the situation that's happening right now for you. It's you created this reality. It showed up for you. This pain I'm feeling in my knee. It's not because it was agreed upon before I came into this body. It's because right now I'm having resistance to my past, and I need to go inward instead of talking with you beautiful people, and I need to meditate on it. Right? I need to accept my past. I need to accept all the things that have happened to me in this physical reality. And once I've accepted that, I can then allow myself to take the lessons, the part of the curriculum, and then I can elevate, and then I can experience that joy that we all want in the end, right? The only reason we go through a spiritual awakening is not because we want the suffering. It's because we want the joy. The reason you're watching this video right now is you want the joy. I want the joy. I want it for you. And so, the way we achieve that state of joy, bliss, satisfaction is by letting go of the conditioning of our past that we feel hinders us from joy. That doesn't mean just going out and divorcing your partner or buying a new car or anything like that. It means accept this moment for what it is and find the joy, see the joy and bliss in this very moment. For me, the joy and bliss reside in the fact that my heart feels amazing. It feels so good as I'm riding this bike. 4 weeks ago, I would have been in severe pain as I was talking to you guys, feeling pain radiate up into my neck and down my arm. So there's bliss and joy in this very moment, right? That's the epitome of what Buddha said when he achieved enlightenment. It wasn't that, his first noble truth is that there is suffering, right? Suffering is caused by attachment. So second noble truth is, first noble truth is that life is suffering, right? Life is this discontentment. The second noble truth is that life is caused by suffering is caused by attachment. Third noble truth is there is a way out of suffering. And the fourth noble truth is the eightfold path, which is the way out of suffering. So if you follow this eightfold path, you will relieve your suffering. But when he came out of his enlightenment, his experience with Mara, the demon Mara, which was his own ego, his own mind, he recognized, I've been ignorant to the fact that bliss and joy are here right now. With us watching this, bliss and joy are this present moment. And the reason I'm not experiencing it is because I have all of these things in my mind that tell me how things should be, how I want them to be. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with desire. But when I keep clinging to the way I want things to be instead of accepting them as they are, and then I can be hopeful and trust that things are going to work out perfectly in whatever way they want so that I can get to that destination, then we're free. Then we have the joy. Then we have the bliss, because we can see, I may not have chosen this road, but this road feels good. I may not have chosen that step, but that step seems to be working really well. I may not have chosen to go up, but it seems fun to go up right now. It may be a little hard, my heart rate may be a little high, but up sounds good. So that's kind of the gist of everything, of our spiritual awakening signs. Those have been the things for me. I probably remember things later, but it's a game. It's a journey of seeing reality as it is and being upset with it, then moving into acceptance of it, and then taking the curriculum, the lesson of the curriculum from it, and then looking, surrendering, and seeing how you would love it to be, right? What you have naturally asked for, and what now the universe, nature, God is going to align for us to bring us into that desired end point. And then from that desired destination, we'll have new desires. And so it'll be a repeating game. And though we can always have these beautiful, heartfelt desires, we can always have a deep, earnest yearning. But when we have yearning for the end, and if the end doesn't show up, we create suffering. And so that's a lot of our spiritual awakening signs. Your soul has already progressed forward. It's already moved up into this elevated state. And it's drawing you with it in your physical body. It's drawing you up there into that state with it. And the reason that we suffer, the reason that we have these spiritual awakening signs is because we're holding resistance to stepping forward into that space with our inner being, with our soul, with God. I'm very, very a part of that. I recognize that all the time, that if I were God right now, how would I see this situation? Raul Madone, he's a beautiful artist. He sings a song called God's Dream. You should go check it out if you've made it this far. God's Dream. But if you were God right now, if your inner being had inhabited your body right now, how would they see the situation that you're struggling with? Or that you want, the desire that you have after this? Where do you want to go after this? Where do you want that? What is your next destination? And what does the alchemist say? It's the potential of a dream coming true that makes life interesting. It's the opportunity of, that's what it is. It's the opportunity of a dream coming true that makes life interesting. So your dreams, your reality will come true if you can go through that process and you can let go and surrender. I've had a lot of dreams come true. I've got the perfect woman and back there through that garage door in that house. I've got a wonderful dog. I've got an amazing car. If my 16-year-old self could see me right now and the health that I've got and the woman, when I was going through all that struggle and that strife and that discomfort, that I had a beautiful wife. My body's healthy. Yeah, it's had some shit happen to it since then, but for the most part, I'm doing amazing. I can talk to you, beautiful people. I can ride this bike comfortably, keeping my heart rate in a nice little heart rate zone. I get to help people on a daily basis. I get to, again, talk with you guys. I've got plenty of money. I could always use more money. I could always use a little bit more. Just a teensy bit. just a little bit more. But, if you think about how far you've come from where you were, man, how would your 16-year-old self see you now? I bet they'd be pretty excited. All the things that you've been able to experience, places you've gone, the people you've met, the food you've eaten, the freedom you've had, the house that you're living in, the car, whatever it is, the health that you've got. I don't know if I already said that. Yeah, they would be so excited. They'd be overjoyed. And so that's how we're going to end it today. We got our 40 minutes in. That's what I needed today was 40 minutes. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you so much. I love you. Yeah, that's how I want to end it. Just think about that. Take that in. How would your 16-year-old self see you? Because you've expanded so much. You've grown so much spiritually. You've just forgotten to take note of it along the way. And you keep having more and more desire. Let yourself see how far you've come and be grateful for that. You've come a very, very long way. You're doing awesome. You're going to keep going further. But for now, appreciate how far you've made it. So on that, I love you guys. I'm going to stop my stuff. I will talk to you next time. Thanks again for watching. I love you. And until then, be well, my friends. Bye.